The funeral procession moved slowly through the historic cemetery on the outskirts of Boston, where tall oak trees stood silent under a grey November sky. Black luxury vehicles arrived one after another, carrying powerful executives, politicians, attorneys, and distant relatives, all dressed in somber black. At the center of the gathering rested a polished mahogany coffin containing Eleanor Halstead, the only daughter of billionaire industrialist Richard Halstead. Just 48 hours earlier, she had been declared dead after collapsing inside her private waterfront mansion. The cause listed as sudden cardiac failure. Richard Halstead stood motionless near the grave, his face hardened by grief and disbelief. As CEO of a global technology empire, he was known for control and precision, yet nothing in his life had prepared him for burying his own child. The media had been kept at a distance, but whispers filled the air, rumors of stress, inheritance, and secrets no one dared to speak aloud. The priest began the final prayer, his voice low and formal, when chaos erupted from the edge of the cemetery. "Stop, please stop the funeral, she's not dead." Gasps rippled through the crowd as heads turned. A man in a fluorescent sanitation vest pushed past the iron gate, breathing heavily. His name was Michael Reyes, a city garbage collector who looked completely out of place among the tailored suits and polished shoes. His hands shook, but his eyes were fixed on the coffin. Security guards rushed toward him, prepared to remove him immediately. Before they could act, Richard Halstead raised his hand. Something about the man's desperation cut through the noise. Michael spoke quickly, his voice cracking as he explained that 2 nights earlier, while working his route near Eleanor's mansion, he had noticed an ambulance leaving at an unusual speed. No sirens, no police escort. Later that same night, behind a private medical facility contracted by Halstead Industries, he had been ordered to dispose of sealed medical waste. While loading it, he heard faint knocking from inside one of the bags. When he tried to report it, men in expensive suits threatened his job and told him to forget what he had seen. The cemetery fell into stunned silence. Richard felt his chest tighten as memories replayed. How rushed the death certificate had been. How little access he was given to his daughter's body. How the autopsy report arrived unusually fast. Ignoring the shocked murmurs around him, Richard stepped forward. With a trembling but commanding voice, he ordered the funeral stopped immediately and demanded law. Enforcement reopened the case. In that moment, the billionaire's grief turned into resolve, unaware that this interruption would expose a conspiracy far larger than anyone present could imagine. Within hours of the halted funeral, the cemetery became a secured crime scene, and the quiet dignity of mourning was replaced by flashing lights and urgent voices. State investigators, federal agents, and independent medical experts were brought in at Richard Halstead's direct request. The billionaire spared no expense, but this time his influence was used not to control outcomes, rather to strip away every layer of secrecy surrounding his daughter's alleged death. Michael Reyes was taken into protective custody and questioned extensively. His account remained consistent, down to the smallest detail: the location of the clinic, the color of the unmarked ambulance, and the faces of the men who threatened him. When authorities raided the private medical facility that same night, what they uncovered confirmed his worst fears. Hidden beneath legitimate treatment rooms was a restricted wing containing unauthorized experimental equipment and falsified patient records. In a locked recovery room, doctors found Eleanor Halstead alive. She was sedated, malnourished, and weak, but her heart was beating steadily. Specialists later confirmed that she had been administered a rare drug capable of inducing a death-like state, fooling standard medical examinations. The official autopsy report had been fabricated, signed by a medical examiner who was later revealed to be on a rival corporation's payroll. As Eleanor was transferred to a secure hospital, investigators began unraveling the motive. She controlled several high-value patents related to clean energy storage, patents that would automatically transfer ownership if she were legally declared deceased. The staged death had been designed to erase her authority while keeping her alive long enough to force access codes and signatures. The arrests came swiftly. Corporate executives, clinic administrators, and corrupt officials were charged with conspiracy, fraud, attempted murder, and obstruction of justice. The scandal sent shockwaves through Wall Street and Washington alike, triggering congressional inquiries and emergency reforms in private medical oversight. Weeks later, Eleanor slowly regained consciousness, surrounded by her father and a small circle of trusted physicians. At a nationally televised press conference, Richard Halstead stood beside Michael Reyes. His voice was steady, but his eyes carried the weight of what nearly happened. "My daughter lives because one man refused to stay silent," he said. "Courage does not belong only to the powerful." Michael declined interviews and public attention. He returned to his job, quietly promoted and financially secure, but unchanged in spirit. The funeral that never happened became a symbol across the country, a reminder that truth can emerge from the most unexpected places, and that even a billionaire's world can be saved by the conscience of an ordinary working man.